What's going on, everybody? Jolt here from the Token Minorities, and I am back with the top 8 battle of the Brawl for All Round 5 tournament. A really good tournament put on by Johnny GB. Make sure to go check him out. He'll be linked down in the description below. I don't know if my opponent has a YouTube channel as well. If he does, I hope that he watches this and comments to let me know. And in that case, go check him out too. But we are in the top 8. 8 teams remain. Over 100 and some large number of people started in this tournament, and we're down here in the final 8. So that's pretty exciting. My opponent is Moxie boosted. He has had a really good tournament run. I believe he has also knocked off Aster throughout the course of his tournament run. So he's played really well for sure, and he has probably one of the best drafts I have faced yet in this tournament. He is rocking the Torn T, Mamoswine, Amoonguss, Magneton, Dusknoir, Mega Golay, Tapu Fini, and Druddigon, with the Tornadus T and the Druddigon being his Z move user. So he has some big threats on his team for sure, especially against mine. I think this is probably my toughest matchup so far in the tournament. The combination of Z Torn T, I already knew Z Tornadus Therian was so good against my team. I talked about that in my previous 1 or 2 times that I've already faced it in this tournament. I have to really pivot around it super carefully to be able to deal with it, and it's a problem because of its speed tier and the fact that I can't really combat it with Sticky Web because obviously it's not grounded. So it's a big issue. It has good coverage for everything. The main thing that I can do against Torn T is to scout out its moveset and see which of my mons is able to switch into it most effectively. It needs 5 coverage moves for my entire team. It needs Icy Wind, it needs Heat Wave, Hurricane, it wants U-Turn, it wants Hidden Power Steel or Iron Tail for my Diancie. There's a lot of moves that it wants, and it can't possibly have all of them, especially if it also wants to have a support move of some kind. So there are ways for me to play around Torn T, but it does require pivoting around it, and you know, the more times I face Torn T, the more complicated that's going to be, because people can really start to read my patterns and stuff on how I'm trying to approach it. But yeah, Torn T, massive threat. Mamoswine is also a huge threat against my team. You can look at the team I'm bringing. The only mon that I didn't bring it, but Araquanid is the only mon I had that could resist its dual stab, and I opted to not bring it, although it looks like it could have been pretty good based upon what he brought. The Amoonguss and Druddigon were 2 mons that were pretty good against Araquanid. Kind of made me not want to bring it, but it is what it is. Would have been good here at this team preview, but yeah, Mamoswine just a very big threat against my team. It plus Mega Golay is able to pressure Mesprit really well as well, and even able to pressure the Ferrothorn really well too. So yeah, it's a tough matchup, but the team I'm bringing for this game I think can definitely get the job done. I am bringing a 4 attacks Mega Diancie with the Moonblast, Psyshock, Diamond Storm, and Earth Power. Just a good general breaker against this team. It's basically meant to help break down the Dusknoir, to help break down the Magneton potentially, to help break down the Tapu Fini, and etc. It's also meant to be a good pivot into the Torn T. I do expect him to bring Hidden Power Steel in the Torn T, but it's still typically a good pivot into Torn T initially to help me get into my other mons. Bait out the Hidden Power Steel and go into a mon that's able to more effectively check the Torn T. So that's basically my Mega Diancie's role in this game. Then I'm packing the Dragon Dance Ground DMZ Zygarde 50 in this game. If I get up a Dragon Dance and his team is a little bit whittled from hazards, it's going to be a good time, I think, for Zygarde, as he doesn't have any resistances to the 1,000 arrows. That's easily a good win condition in this game. I only need some chip damage off on the Dusknoir and some chip damage on the Mamoswine and the Tapu Fini to be able to sweep his entire team at +1. I think that's something I can definitely accomplish here with this team. And then I have a Ferrothorn, which is just running Stealth Rock this week with a Shed Shell for that Magneton. I did expect that to come, and I think if he is a Choice Lock Magneton, I think he could easily be Choice Specs or Choice Scarf. And if I can get him to lock into the Hidden Power Fire, that could be a very easy setup opportunity for my Zygarde by pivoting into that on that Hidden Power turn. So that's the reasoning behind Shed Shell. Really contemplated stuff like Leftovers and just a lot of SPDF investment and whatnot, but I think Shed Shell is definitely the call here. So I'm running Stealth Rock, Knockoff, Gyro Ball, and Leech Seed. Just very good against his team. yeah, just a good moveset here. And then I have the Mesprit, which is primarily physically defensive. It is like a Crow Mesprit set with Calm Mind, Rest, Sleep Talk, and Psychic. He does not have a Dark type on his team. His only Psychic resist is the Magneton. That's not much of a resist on the special defensive side, so this did definitely make sense against his team. And, you know, it's a little bit of a luck factor when it comes to Rest, Sleep Talk sets, but I was willing to put my money into these this Mesprit set for this game, and we'll see how it goes. And then I have the Infernape, which is a Choice Scarf variant, Iron Fist with Thunder Punch for the Tornadus T and the Tapu Fini. That's easily a combination I could see him trying to preserve for the late game, and being able to sweep through that with my Infernape could be an option. I'm also packing the Flare Blitz, the U-Turn, and the Close Combat for the best coverage against his team, in my opinion. And then I have the Crobat in this game, which is running Safety Goggles just in case he brought the Amoonguss. I didn't want to sacrifice free turns after getting my Crobat put to bed by the Amoonguss Spore, so I am running the Safety Goggles, but this is once again going to be a pseudo check to Torn T. As I'm able to do a lot of damage with Brave Bird. I'm running a lot of bulk investment to help me switch into Hurricanes and whatnot, and I can take a Supersonic Sky Strike from full health if I need to. A combination of this plus Mega Diancie plus Zygarde plus the Ferrothorn, those four mons have to collectively deal with the Tornty, and you know, we'll just see how that goes. So that is the team I am bringing. In terms of the lead matchup, I need to keep the Tornty out as long as possible and maybe get Stealth Rock up so I can chip it down, or at least only deal with it when it's at 75% instead of 100% in the mid and late game. So I'm going to lead off with my Crobat, and we'll see what he decides to do as he leads off with his Magneton. Now I am packing, I don't think I ever mentioned my Crobat set. I'm packing the Brave Bird, Hidden Power, Ground, Roost, and Toxic on that Crobat, so I could actually have done damage to that Magneton on turn 1, but in case he is a Violite, and just in case, actually I think based upon my investment, it was not possible for me to knock out the Magneton in one turn, even if he wasn't in a Violite set with my Hidden Power Ground. I'm not very heavily invested in my special attack, so I do need to whittle it down a little bit before it's in range if it's choiced. So I am going to switch out my Crobat into my Zygarde just to see what he wants to do. He's going to go for the safe Flash Cannon, that's fair enough. Does a decent chunk of damage and gets the Spadef drop, but I am going to switch out now into my Ferrothorn just to scout out what his response to my Zygarde was going to be. He's going to go hard into whatever his response to a +1 Zygarde is, so I knew that was a pretty safe pivot to make, and it should allow me to get Stealth Rocks up against whatever his switch-in is. But he actually brings a really nice Dusknoir set with Taunt. I actually didn't even know Dusknoir got Taunt going into this game, so yeah, really nice prep on his part. I'm going to go for the knockoff just in case he wants to stay in, and he makes a nice switch into the Torn T, which is probably the worst case scenario for me, as now I'm forced to go into my series of pivots, and he makes a really good play once again and goes for Hidden Power Steal. So he's really got me on the back foot here early in the game, and now, like, at this point, at turn 5, that's when I realized, okay, this guy's good, and I need to start playing more aggressively around him. So let's see how that goes, as now I'm going to go into my Crobat, which is my double pivot through the Diancie into the Tornty, and now I'm going to pivot back into my Diancie, expecting him to switch out into something like the Dusknoir, and this gives me a chance to get some good damage off on the Dusknoir before my Diancie goes down. It wasn't going to be able to do much against the rest of his team, and good damage on Zygarde, or on this, can help my Zygarde later on in the game. As now I'm going to go into my Mesprit, thinking that, okay, this thing probably is not able to do too much damage to me. This gives me an opportunity to get myself back into an advantageous position by maybe getting a few good rolls with my Sleep Talk. So I'm going to go for the Calm Mind, followed by a Psychic to get some chip damage on whatever he switches into. That was the Magneton, putting him in guaranteed range of Hidden Power Ground if he is not in a Violite variant. For my Crobat, of course, now I'm going to go for a Calm Mind, followed up by a Rest, showing him that he cannot beat my Mesprit 1v1 with his Magneton. Now here I'm going to go for the Sleep Talk as he goes into Gallade, which I knew was going to be his play. Unfortunately, I Sleep Talk a Rest instead of a Psychic. If I got a Psychic on that turn, that might have actually been able to take him out, as regular Gallade is very frail. But unfortunately, not able to do that, and instead I get Sleep Talk Rest twice. So yeah, not really going my way at this point in the game, but he does make a little bit of a misplay in my opinion. He decides to go for a Taunt instead of trying to take out my Mesprit with a knockoff. I guess he thought it might have been a roll to take me out of that range. I'm not really sure, but I do get that nice chip damage off, a lot of damage off with a +2 Psychic against the Gallade, and then I take him out with my Crobat. Here he goes into his, backing up here, because this was actually kind of kind of a cool turn. So I knock out the Gallade with the Brave Bird, and then he checks my Crobat with the Magneton. Now, I thought there was absolutely no way that he tries to go for an electric attack on this turn. He has to expect me to try to go into my Zygarde, because at this point in the game, it's not revealed. I guess, no, it is revealed that he is a Violite, but I really expected him to go for a Flash Cannon trying to catch my Zygarde, because if Zygarde comes in at this point with his Dusknoir weakened, I actually could put in a lot of damage against this team if I get that really free switch in. I don't take a Flash Cannon upon switch in. So I knew he was going to go for a Flash Cannon here, so I decided to stay in and go for the in-power ground, just in case, you know, maybe it's able to take him out, but even so, just getting that nice damage off on him is really good. And here I'm going to go for a Roost, expecting him to preserve his Magneton for my Ferrothorn, and then he goes into his Mamoswine. So the next threat is here, and I'm going to pull the switch into my Ferrothorn, and I actually dodge the Icicle Crash, which gives me a little bit of life in this game. That gives me actually a chance here to win in the late game if I play really well, I think. As I'm going to get up my Stealth Rock and then fire off a Leech Seed as it goes into his Magneton. I'm going to go straight into my Zygarde here, expecting him to think that I'm trapped and go for the Hidden Power Fire. Unfortunately, I know at this point that he's not choice locked unless he's just a really bulky Specs variant. So I am going to go into my Zygarde. I'm still going to go for a Dragon Dance though, because what that does is that will force him to go into his Mamoswine as opposed to any other Mon. And I know I needed damage on Mamoswine to have a chance of winning this game. I need to basically get the Mamoswine into range of my Ferrothorn, I guess. That's something I needed to do in the late game. I also wanted to get it as close to in range as possible of my Crobat, as I should be able to heal up my Crobat on his Tapu Fini, potentially even on his Torn T if I can dodge Hurricane. As I have a lot of bulk, I can roost up on a lot of those Hurricanes. And eventually I should be able to get into a position where I'm nearly at full health and he has to check me with Mamo. Can't take me out. That'd be a way to be able to deal with Mamoswine as well. So that was the thought process on that. I'm able to get rid of the Magneton, force him into his Mamoswine here, and go into my Ferrothorn because he is kind of forced to go for an Ice Shard. And I get that Life Orb plus Stealth Rock damage on the Mamoswine, which is really important. And here I can go straight for a nice Gyro Ball just in case he wants to stay in and let his Mamoswine die. That would make my endgame so much easier. Unfortunately, he doesn't make that play, but now expecting him to go for a Taunt, going to go for a knockoff with my Ferrothorn as he goes for Ice Beam and freezes my Ferrothorn. Now this really sucks because the way this endgame was playing out, I had a very good chance of winning with my Infernape in the back, especially after he let me weaken this Dusknoir, as getting rid of the leftovers and leaving Dusknoir this weekend, as I believe he's already revealed to not have any recovery on this Dusknoir as well. Ferrothorn was in a position to wall out almost the entirety of the rest of his team, especially because I don't think he's actually packing Heat Wave on his Torn T. Based upon how he's been playing it, I don't think he actually has Heat Wave on this, and that means Ferrothorn could easily be able to deal with Tapu Fini, the Torn T, and the Dusknoir, and it can take any one hit from Mamoswine as well if needed. And if I get rid of any of those Mons, if I get rid of Tapu Fini, okay, if I get rid of Tapu Fini with Ferrothorn, my Infernape can spam Flare Blitz. If I get rid of the Mamoswine with anything, my Infernape can spam Thunder Punch. And if I get rid of the Torn T, then I guess if I get rid of Torn T, it doesn't really open anything up necessarily, I don't think. But even so, Ferrothorn was very important in this late game, obviously, and getting frozen here kind of sucks, so now I'm going to scramble a little bit trying to get unfrozen if I possibly can. Unfortunately, I don't get it there, as he gets a free switch into his Torn T, the biggest threat against my team, which sucks, as he's going to go for an Icy Wind as I go into my Infernape. So good play there, make sure he outspeeds me on the next turn, forced to sack my Zygarde as he fires off his Z move, further confirming to me he's probably almost certainly not a Heat Wave variant. I'm going to go into my Scarf Infernape now. I'm going to U-turn, expecting him to go into his Dusknoir, because that'll give me potentially another opportunity to get rid of this Freeze with my Ferrothorns. If I can thaw here on this turn, I have a genuine chance to be able to win this game once again. Unfortunately, I stay frozen, but he does miss his Hurricane. That's cool. I'm still frozen. He misses again. That's cool. Still frozen. Yeah, so we just kind of danced around each other a little bit there for a few turns as he hits that Hurricane. And now he's going to go for the Tailwind, which also kind of sucks, because now I can't go straight into my Infernape and do some damage in that way. I have to go into my Crobat to stall out some Tailwind. I'm able to roost up here. And yeah, I'm going to get confused. Not a big deal, as I am able to fire off the Toxic on the Torn T. What I probably, maybe thinking about this in hindsight, maybe I should have tried to continue roost stalling in that situation until he missed a Hurricane. That's probably what I should have done, but I was fearing the Icy Wind as well, so no, I think I made the right play there. Here he makes a really aggressive play that I don't think he needed to make, and knocks out my Infernape with his Mamoswine, and then I shards away my Crobat with the Mamo as well. So unfortunately, this is where our run in the Brawl for All tournament will end. Bit of a hacksy game. Yeah, I dodged an Icicle Crash as well, which was kind of a big deal. I think he definitely got me early in the game. I felt like I brought it back pretty well in the mid game, and then yeah, the freeze definitely did not help the situation much at all. But you know, we talked about it after the game a little bit. We both kind of agreed that I had a very good chance to win if Ferrothorn did not get frozen, because it was able to deal so well with most of his team. And really from that point onward, I had a very low chance of being able to pull it out. I would have had to get some hacks. He would have had to miss like all of his Hurricanes. And you know, that's while Hurricane is a very unreliable move, it's unlikely that that will happen. So you know, it is what it is. I won't go into too much more detail on the hacks. Obviously, I'm salty about that. I felt like I played well enough in the late game to be able to win, but he played very well in the early game, and for that I commend him. So congrats to Moxie. He actually ended up winning the entire tournament. So yeah, good on him. It's nice that we at least lost to the champion of the tournament. So that's pretty cool. I think we could have won this game, but you know, that's how it goes. It's Mons, but you know, this is probably going to wrap it up here for this tournament. So I hope you guys did enjoy this little mini series here of the BFA tournament. I'm actually playing in another tournament right now, the NBA offseason thing, offseason tournament, and I hope the tournament actually finishes, because I might actually upload that as well. I drafted like a really cool hyper offense team, and most of you haven't seen me try hyper offense before, but if you have, maybe a long time ago in one of the first, I think the first March Madness tournament that we put on, I drafted a HO team, and I had no idea what I was doing at the time with HO, and I got wrecked. But you know, I feel like I better understand how to play hyper offensively now, and yeah, so I'm having fun with that. And if that tournament finishes, which I really hope it will, then I'll probably try to upload those games as well. It's like a team tournament too, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, so that's it for BFA. Again, make sure to check out Johnny GB. Check out my opponent Moxie if he has a YouTube channel, and he comments it below. Just because look down there in the comments for that. If that happens to be there, that would be cool, as he is a pretty good guy from what I know about him. So yeah, I think we are done here. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you all in the next one. Maybe NBA. It might be when I start talking about the upcoming Summer Showdown tournament stuff. Either or, you'll hear from me in the relatively near future. So have a good one, guys. Later.